What's up, YouTube? Pretty big day today. Having some fun. Trailer dropped, so if you haven't seen it, you can go watch it on this YouTube channel right now. So that's pretty exciting. But today we're going to be just jumping into Northstar for a little bit, playing around. Right now I'm working on the sound, wrapping up the sound for New Frontiers to send to our audio guy to do final mixing and mastering with. But I'm taking a little break. Figured I'd stream a little bit, chat with you guys, play some Titanfall, that fun jazz. So playing on the Northstar client. So if you're on PC, you can play on Northstar, then by all means jump in. It'd be great to run around with you in here. And if you haven't picked up Trinity Dusk's New Frontiers mod from the Thunder store, I highly recommend you do so because it's pretty sweet and it just adds, some of the characters from the show into the game, which is fun. One thing that I did want to talk about a little bit before we get too much into it, and I'll discuss this further as we jump into gameplay, but there's a pretty 50-50 split. I put a poll out about 40 minutes ago or so, and it's pretty 50-50 split on what you guys wanted me to chat about. Some folks wanted to hear more about the plans for release, and others wanted to hear about the behind-the-scenes aspect. So I'll touch on both a little bit. Last I checked, the plans for release were slightly ahead, so we might jump into that a little bit here in a bit. But let's jump in to Titanfall, and I'll make sure I can see you guys' YouTube. Sick. All right, I'll move you guys over here just a little bit more so it's easier to see. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna jump into the pilots to be pilots glitch while I talk about the answers to y'all's questions, and then maybe I'll jump into some attrition or something. Doesn't look like. What's this one? Maybe we'll hop in here just to get some attrition in, so I can waste some grunts and not look too turn down the desktop audio a little bit. Hey, Justin's here. I actually never tried Northstar, as most of the player base moved over there. There's a few people. Let me know if you can hear me okay now. There's a few people. Like, I feel like a lot of people do play on PC nowadays. I just recently got into it, just as the Northstar mod was being put together for New Frontiers. I went ahead and figured I should probably test it and mess around with it. So I played a few times. I don't have a ton of experience on. Let me try and turn this down even more. We'll go way down. Let me know if that's any better. But yeah, I feel like there's a good amount of people on here. I'm still not very good with a mouse and keyboard. Does this help? Oop. Man, I'm a mess. There we go. But still getting used to doing mouse and keyboard. But I'm much better with a controller. Oh, there's already Titans on the field? Oh, interesting. They're modded in. But to get to your guys' questions, cool. Glad you guys can hear me better now. But yeah, to get into, as far as doing between the release date and how we made this. So I'll first get into the release schedule, what we have on the docket. So we're going to be releasing New Frontiers on Monday, March 11th, will be episode 1. So there's a total of 6 episodes. So it's going to be essentially Titanfall week. So March 11th will be episode 1, and then every day after that there's going to be a new episode up until Friday. So Monday through Friday will be episodes 1 through 5 every evening Central Time, so right around I think we decided 7 p.m. Central, 7 or 8 p.m. Central, and then on Saturday is what we're calling BTS Day. So, oh, this is neat. Northstar is so cool. People do a lot of work on it, and the guys over there are super chill. But I'm still getting used to what all the game modes and such are. But yeah, so once all 5 episodes are out, we're going to do BTS Day on Saturday. And then after BTS Day, which right now I talked to our BTS guy last night, and we were chatting about it, and we were thinking we're going to split it up into multiple videos, just because he was saying what he had was like between 3 and 5 hours of just like how we put the whole thing together and made it. And so we're looking into splitting it up into a bunch of little segments that like people can watch at any point, but we'll premiere them throughout the day. So that'll be BTS Day. And then on Sunday will be the final premiere. So episode 6 will come out on Sunday. And following that, we will also do a live stream to celebrate the finale almost immediately following. So that episode is right around an hour long. So after it's done, there'll be a little 15-minute break. We'll start a live stream. It'll be with the cast and crew, whoever really wants to hop on that call. We'll be answering your questions on YouTube, and then playing Titanfall 2. So if you're not on the Northstar Client yet, that's where we will be playing. And anybody's welcome to come hang out. We'll probably do maybe 30 minutes of Q&A, celebratory stuff after the release, and then we'll jump into Titanfall 2 and play with you guys. So that is the plans for release, which I might have to go over again a little bit later, but totally cool. We'll see if there's any questions here. I'm glad you guys are excited. I'm pretty excited as well. I keep forgetting I can call him my Titan now. But to talk a little bit about how we made it, because that was the other thing that I get a lot of questions about in general, but also was, it was pretty 50-50 on that poll. It was going back and forth, one to the other. But to get into that a little bit. So, New Frontiers, hey, Adepts. Welcome. Your submitted fan art looks fantastic. It's at the beginning. I think you submitted 2 of them. So there's 2. There's one that I think it's a still image, and one's that's a video. And they're both fantastic. So those are in the countdown for the episodes. Pretty sweet. But to get into how we made it. So initially, there's a video out on the YouTube channel. It's as far back as you can go. It's the furthest back, and that's essentially the concept trailer is what we call it. And that was kind of where it all began. It was a one-off thing, just a really short, make something cool, fun. It kind of showed off, what I had been learning in Unreal Engine, and that was all it was really going to be. And then that kind of blew up, and we were like, well, what would happen if we explored this further? So we went ahead and did that, and as we looked into it more, it became one of those things where we knew we could, when we made it, we wanted to do something that was kind of revolutionary, at least for filmmakers. Oh, Adepts, was that you? I don't know where you went, brother. But so we knew we wanted to do something that would at least like change things for people to make indie stuff, and doing something that's in the sci-fi realm. It's a pretty big undertaking. It doesn't really get done in indie because it's not super practical. But we wanted to see if we could make that something where, indie filmmakers could make sci-fi films without constraint. So that's why we looked into this, whole thing. And as we were working on it, we also wanted to make it accessible to everybody. So the entire thing is recorded on people's cell phones. So when you watch it, what a lot of these actors did was they, in whether it was they had like a recording studio, because some of them had that, and other ones just had the closet. A good example is like the two main characters. One of the main characters is Celise, played by Cindy Maples. Wonderful person, and she's also a professional voiceover artist. So she has like her own studio set up and all that. She still recorded on her phone and everything, but then counter to her is Gila, who's the other main character, played by Kay Boone. And when we started production, all she had was a $40 phone from Amazon, and so we wanted to make this production accessible to either end of the spectrum. So if you had nothing, but a $40 phone from Amazon, if you were the right talent, then like you could still get involved. So that was like kind of our mindset from the very beginning of how we wanted to make this. And then it was a process of refining that and making it more accessible to anybody who was a part of production. But yeah, so going from there, it was bringing people on to be a part of it from like a voice acting standpoint. And we were working on the writing at the same time. So as, writing went on for a few months, it was majority done by myself and Luke Ryan, as well as Nathan Snyder and Logan Shue. They were also extremely helpful in getting everything, as close to Titanfall lore accurate as we could. And then from that, we wanted to make sure that, it wasn't just accurate, but it was also just a good story. And that's where, Luke Ryan really came in to make it as good as it possibly could be. So we were working on the writing. We were doing tests with the actors. And dang. Nice work, Adepts. But we were working with the actors. I'm going to turn my headphones down a little bit. I think it's throwing me off. I don't know if that affects it for you guys if I turn it down that way, but I did. So, but as we were working on it, with the actors, figuring out like how do you make it accessible but also scalable, because it's cool that we're able to do this, but it's also, the show's 3 hours long, so like we need to be able to record with everybody in a way that makes sense and is scalable for them. So figuring out all those systems and whatnot. And when it really became go time, we recorded the whole thing in about 5 weeks, so all 3 hours that the actors were needed for to do their parts was about 3 hours in total. Dang, those pilots are like invincible. But recording with all the actors, it was about 5 weeks going through doing every single line. And then from there, it was a matter of, working through. We were kind of overlapping like one stage of production with the next. So at that same time, I was working on set design and, working with Cassandra Umsang on doing the environment lighting. So she did a lot of the environments that you see in it. She did the lighting of those, which is a little bit separate from what the cinematographers ended up doing, but we'll get to that in a second. But me and her worked through that, and then I essentially started principal animation, which the animation was definitely the longest stage of production, just because it's the thing like I was still learning the most about. But as we were working through that, then I brought cinematographers on. So a lot of my buddies who are, do cinematography full time for a living, I kind of wanted to expose them to this idea of doing it here. Oop, that's going to kill me. But so I worked with them to do the cinematography on a good amount of scenes, which allowed me to take the rest of the scenes. Because once again, it's so much that, we couldn't do a cinematographer for like every single scene. But I was able to take the scenes that they did do, get an understanding of like how and why they did them. And then I was able to go through and do the rest of the cinematography with, their same kind of mindsets there, while leaving some of those scenes, exclusively how they chose to make them. From that, it came down to working on all things post-production. Deanna Del Toro and Tom Duffy are two composers who did like all the special case music for the series. So whether it was like something that needed to be specific to a scene or the theme song, like all that was created by them. And then I would work through the other parts of production, such as the editing, finishing up the animation, the rendering. And from there, it moves into a more classical pipeline to where it is now that I'm doing the sound, implementing the last of the soundtrack, and, making, those final touches to bring the whole thing together. So, long process for sure. But, it was good. But I'm going to jump into some of your questions now, because I see a whole lot coming in through the chaos of what's happening here on this game in Northstar, which for anybody new who's viewing, I'm on the Northstar Client right now. Be sure to go to the Thunder Store and grab Trinity Dusk's mod for New Frontiers. You can get the characters from the show and, come hang out. We're in... I can't see the server name right now, but I'll get it up as soon as I can. But it's one of these attrition servers. I might change it because it's quite chaotic. It's very hard for me to talk and play in this amount of chaos at the same time. Let's see here. Excited to watch New Frontiers. Your cat is out. Wait, how long are the episodes? So to speak to that a little bit. The episodes are, they are roughly 25 to 30 minutes each. And the last episode is an hour. So it's about 3 hours in total, start to finish, of content. So I think this is mostly all bots, right? With a couple of other players. So it seems like they're just very advanced bots. Oh, Adepts, there you are. Ha! You got me. I have fan art based of Chemo Alpha. I have yet to share. That's awesome. Definitely share your art. You know, I think that's kind of part of all of this. You know, like even though I'm doing like a whole show, whatever, it's still like fan art. So any fan art that you have, definitely go out and share it. Make it a part of all this. That's kind of how you keep the community alive at this point. Thanks for making this, my guy. Hope you are having an amazing day. It's been pretty good. Seeing the trailer and the great reception to it so far has been super dope. So thank you to everybody who's watched it, given it love. That means a lot. Let's switch to Solis for this game. And second question, is there a Discord? So we did the production through Discord. Oh, I'm still Gila. That's why. It didn't switch me out yet. Should do it on this next turn. So we did like all of production through Discord, but it's not like public or anything. It's a lot of people's information's in there, so it's exclusive to just the people who worked on it. But that's how we made the entire show. Was when we recorded with voice actors, it was in Discord. When we did the cinematography or the lighting design, that was in Discord. All the revisions for the the music with the composers, we were just doing that over Discord. Like every single stage of this was done on a Discord call that you can hold by downloading the app and making an account. So it's crazy, but that's how the whole thing was made and produced. And there's just such good technology now that allows us to take something as simple as a cell phone and make it sound like it was recorded in a studio, or using that to do like the facial motion capture. All that was just through people's phone data. So it's super cool what we're able to achieve. Oh, you can just sit up here? Bro, this is reminiscent of Titanfall 1 right here. Whew. Let's see here. What else we got? I've got one word: Viper. Evan Boymel as Viper is in it. Viper as a character is not. But Evan Boymel, the voice of Viper, he is in New Frontiers, and you get to hear his what he calls his disgusting. That's it's so funny to see different executions. Where he does his pukey radio announcer voice is what he calls it. I think it just sounds cool. This must be the Ash bot. Checking on your questions here in a minute. But for anybody interested in playing along, we are in Northstar. I wish I could see what the server was. Maybe I can see it on the exit screen. I do not, but it's whichever one is in Eden right now. And it's like an attrition crazy mode. There's a lot going on here. It's like fully modded out. Cool. But lots happening. But all right, let's see here. One word Viper. Hi Maverick. Just realized the trailer is up to over 8,000 views. Yes. It is 8,000 and growing. We are hitting close to 1,000 views an hour. 1,000 views an hour, just about. It's kind of been fluctuating around 5 o'clock. We were getting like 100 views legit every 2 minutes, so about 50 views a minute, which was crazy, but you know, it's been varying. Goodness, now there's tons of ticks. This is a crazy server. This is probably what, you know, warfare and in actual Titanfall war would be like. Ah, dang it. Well, that's a good opportunity to switch back. Is it going to be IMC focused or changing between them and Jack? It is IMC focused. So the story, you know, kind of the approach that we took was more reminiscent of Titanfall 1, where it's kind of more of this gray area where you're following both, you know, the IMC and the militia, but it's more heavily skewing towards the IMC side of things, kind of letting them maybe not as much explain their side, but you just get that perspective. You know, it's not like they're trying to explain like, oh, this is what was happening during Titanfall 2. You know, it's more so you know, like this is what the IMC had to do post Titanfall 2 and the consequences of it. And you know, like what do, you know, because the frontier is a relatively small side of humanity, so like how does the rest of humanity respond to, you know, what happened and all that. I mean, when you blow up a planet and threaten, like, you know, the world order, it's probably wouldn't go down too well. So that's kind of what we explore in our story, and I think a lot of people will like it. You know, it had a lot of input from fans, you know, to make sure we were doing something that, you know, did justice to Titanfall, but also just told like a unique story. Question: will the reinforcements arrive in the show? So, I don't want to like give anything away, but there's so much in this that was thought about from like the perspective of like, you know, not just like, I think I saw somebody earlier today say like, I don't want like this to just be all fan service, and it's really not. Like it's definitely done from like the perspective of like, you know, fans definitely worked on it, and there's like Easter eggs all over the place and like little cues we pulled from to help structure the story, but it's all unique. It stands on its own. That being said, you know, you might get some things that are just directly related to gameplay, like a certain bombastic team of 2 that runs a defense contract business, you know, stuff like that. So I'll just beat down the spot while I look at what's going on here. So what actually happened to all the TF3 hype? Did Respawn ever actually comment on it? Not that I know of. I try to follow it pretty quickly, pretty closely. I've been following it pretty closely, and there's really been, nothing to say. Personally, like, I'm glad that, they fixed up Titanfall 2 when they did, made vanilla playable again. That was super cool. But, goodness, those AI pilots are impossible to kill. But to speak to that, I, for one, like, I really like Titanfall 2, right? I think it's a great game. Whether or not they make Titanfall 3 doesn't super matter to me from a gameplay perspective, because I already think that there's so much to like about Titanfall 2 that, like, they never made a third game. I wouldn't necessarily be like, remiss if it never came to pass. It would be really cool to see, but like Titanfall 2 is already so good that doesn't, really bother me in any way. What, was always a curiosity was, what does happen story-wise after the game, because I feel like that's like the one thing that Titanfall 2 never really fleshed out. You got, this really fun, short story, great campaign, all of that, but it's like, where does it go from here? And that's what New Frontiers explores, and I think that's kind of the medium where, something like this, can really aid, because, there isn't anything quite like it. And it's, the part of the game that I feel like, could use the most exploring is, how does the story continue post Titanfall 2? So yeah, so we made a show about it. That's all there really is to say on that front. Let's see here. Man, you were good on PC. I don't think so. But I feel like I'm a lot better on console. I've only been playing PC for like a week now. I used to do a lot of PC gaming. Funnily enough, back when it first came out, I was one of the, if I had to choose between Titanfall 2, Battlefield 1, or Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, I was choosing Battlefield 1 because I was huge into Battlefield 4. So when they came out with Battlefield 1, I was super hyped for it. And like at that time, I could only afford one game. So I went with Battlefield 1. And you know what? I'm happy I did. It was a lot of fun. But now that, I'm a much bigger Titanfall 2 fan, obviously. I'm glad I got the experience of both, but playing this on PC as opposed to console is very different. That got me. Let's see. Do we see pilots use multiple abilities? Yes, you do. There are different Titan abilities. There are some new ones that we came up with for the show, and then there's other things like, for example, one of the main characters, Gila. She's a holo pilot, so she can do the projections of herself. But from a story perspective, it's kind of boring to be like, all right, she can produce a projection that runs in a straight line, and then that's it. So like, how do you play with that more? So we made hers a lot more like how what's his name? I'm totally blanking on it. The guy from Apex. I'm totally blanking on his name right now. Because I want to call him Bamboozle, but that's what he says. That's not his name. So, chat, if you're Mirage, that's his name. Mirage. He's a lot more like Mirage. Or she's a lot like Mirage as far as like the actual ability goes. To where the projections are a bit more tangible and useful. Yes, Adepts and Mirage is who I was thinking of. Bamboozle. That takes a bit more to charge than it does in vanilla. Interesting. But yeah, so there's that. You know, there was a brief shot of it in the trailer. But Celeste, the main character, you know, her pilot ability is more like, you know, a tech-based thing where she can use a like a vortex shield on her wrist to, you know, stop incoming small arms fire, or use it to redirect kinetic energy. So that's like, you know, there are some new things that we explore. She also has a sword, so like, you know, because you can't make a sci-fi without laser swords. So she's got a classic sword, but it also, you know, can have a heated edge for additional damage. Not just because, you know, cool lightsaber sounds. So definitely play around with some pilot abilities a bit. And there's some, you know, like a lot of thought was put into like each individual character and how do they like use different abilities and whatnot. So one of them, like with the Pulse Blade, for example, while playing the game, from a tactical standpoint, you know, I always thought like, you know, the Pulse Blade is good for like revealing around walls and stuff. But in such a fast-paced game, how would it be more useful based on the technology that's already in the world? So, like, the way we kind of thought about it, and it's not, like, super expounded upon in the show, but is if you throw a Pulse Blade, it marks your targets for smart bullets. So, like, from a smart pistol, it would just, like, automatically lock onto any targets that are painted. So stuff like that we tried to keep in mind. Like, how do we take concepts from the game and bring them into the show? Let's see here. Wait, will you add executions to the show? There are some, you know, there's action scenes. There are some, like, execution-esque shots. You know, not quite to the same degree that it's in here, like in the game. You know, just based off of the different things that we were trying. Let's actually swap. Let's swap again. We'll go back and forth. And once again, if you're new here, I see we've gotten a lot of new people. If you want to play on Northstar right now, feel free to join. And if you haven't, go to the Thunder Store and download Trinity Dusk's New Frontiers mod, so you can get Celeste and Gila in game. It's pretty much all just, you know, cosmetic change, but, you know, super cool, and they were fantastic in putting that together. Let's see. In TF1, the IMC severely outnumber the militia, with the reinforcements arriving daily from Demeter. Even after the core worlds are shut off from the Frontier, and the militia still have only captured a quarter of the Frontier from the IMC. Also, IMC reinforcements will arrive 5 years after Titanfall 2. So our story takes place 6 months after Titanfall 2. So it is, from a lore standpoint, you know, like for anybody who's like super nerdy, from a lore standpoint, we essentially cut out the Titanfall 2 multiplayer lore. So we took it up to, you know, the end of Titanfall 2, and then from Titanfall 2, what happens leading up towards the Apex timeline, is what we referred to it as. And because, the state of our show, there's it's a bit quicker to boil down, a 6-month jump than a 5-year one, because it just posed too many questions that like the whole show would just be like explaining like, oh, what's happened since is. And we wanted to make the show super accessible to everybody. So, like a lot of people who worked on it weren't necessarily Titanfall fans, because there are people I know through filmmaking, and like commercial work and stuff like that. So like, they're super psyched about being part of a sci-fi epic. They're professional voice actors and whatnot, but they don't necessarily game, or even some of them didn't know what Titanfall was when we first started. A lot of them played it because unlike other certain shows, we much preferred that people played the game to understand it, or at least like we're armed with resources to understand the world. But so with that, as we were creating the story, it really came down to, because the Titanfall 2 multiplayer lore is so obscure, we just cut it out entirely and take it directly out of Titanfall 2, and kind of rewrite that part. And like, it's not like it super matters because it's a fan show, so it doesn't have to be perfectly accurate by any stretch. But we made it as accurate as we could based on like kind of those constraints we set for ourselves. People having Titan discussion and chat. How many people we got in here? As far as, hey, Adepts is on my team. Nice. Let's go take this guy down. Okay, it's an actual player. Rare. Might hop into a different server. Might do the Pilots v Pilots server after this. Guys, y'all are going crazy. Can't wait to see what you cook when Northstar is the best Titan. Yes, it is. I love playing with the Northstar. I really grew to love it because of the show, because that's what we had decided on for like characters and stuff. And this kind of goes into one of these other questions I see asking about like main characters and bro ran at the last second. But I saw some questions about who the main characters are and what their Titans are. So the main characters are Celise Zarathustra. She is a worn-torn veteran in the IMC. She has about 25 years of service, and she has her Titan, which is a Ronin named Edith. And then you have Gila Casanova, who is a new pilot who comes under her for training. It's kind of part of Celise's promotion program to train this pilot, and then she can essentially get promoted from there, to kind of get out of being, on the battlefield, and more in the war room. That's kind of her goal. I should have definitely punched that guy, but I just sent 2 missiles into him. Fun times. But so then Gila is a holo pilot, and she has a Northstar named Manfield. And if you head to the Thunder store, you can download the mod to get both of them in Titanfall 2. So I think I'm playing as Gila and Manfield right now. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Titan is only as strong as you pilot. You're right. Just know how to run new. You run. He's OP when a good player is behind. I don't know where that guy went. More Titan discussion in the chat. Where is this guy? Dang. More Titan discussion. Always lighting the ground on fire. However, G29 Northstar always dash. Storage can be a god, but goodness, y'all just in the. Will the Battle of Gridiron be involved in the show in any ways? No, not specifically. So, we tried to keep it like pretty separate because we didn't want to tamper with like too much of what existed, and kind of like overstep or change too much about Titanfall lore. So the only like referenced battle is Demeter. So there is a scene that takes place there to give some contextual background to two of the main characters. But as far as like Gridiron and all that goes, that assumably happens either during New Frontiers or like, immediately after. New Frontiers is a bit unique because it's not like what happens to the entire frontier. It's just a single planet. Nice shot, dude. It's just a single planet near Typhon. So it's a completely different, completely new planet within the same ecosystem as Typhon. I don't know what just happened. The game got like super quiet. Oh, nice. Tick. Is Graves in the show? He is not. But a direct reference to him is. So, in that same way, we didn't want to like take main characters from the games and like kind of force them in. Jack and Sarah Briggs are like the two biggest exceptions to that. But like tampering with somebody like Graves from Titanfall 1, especially like as we were trying to figure out like which characters do we write into the story, and how do we make them a part of it. That wasn't necessarily working, but I guess I can't really do anything from there, huh? But so instead what we ended up doing were there's a lot of characters that are references to characters from Titanfall 1 and 2. So for Graves, we have a character named Pyres, who's very much so inspired by him without being like a one-to-one knockoff. And same thing, we have like a general character who's a simulacrum, who is reminiscent of Spyglass without being the Spyglass character. Similar, but not the same character at all. Oh, I'm in chat right now. Ha! Let's see here. So the North Star, I see this question about, basically making a North Star into an A10 Warthog. So that's another thing that we played around with a bit, rather than like strictly leaving Titans to their specific loadouts that they are in the Titanfall 2 multiplayer. They're kind of swapped around. So the Northstar in the show, Gila's Northstar, uses an XO16 chain gun as his primary weapon. And part of that was to write, like more interesting action scenes and such, but also like, there were certain parts of the script where like when we're looking at it as like a broad overview, not really with any pages written yet, there were things that were like, well, if she has a North Star and it has a sniper rifle, then, why wouldn't you just do this? And it just made for a more lackluster story. You could definitely tell a story that way, but we decided to change the loadout to make that different. And same thing with Sully's with the Ronin. Instead of having a like the lead wall, she instead has where'd that guy go? She instead has the brute rocket launcher. Let's see here. What else we got going on in chat? Goodness, y'all going crazy in chat about all this. Why do the characters look much younger, by the way? Like Murder, or however you spell his name. Murder? I don't know who you mean by murder. But there is like a tendency to like there's with some of the characters in the show, there's some of it that's a little bit of a commentary on like like the kids that we just kind of send off into war without like thinking about how much it's gonna traumatize them and like stuff like that. So there's a younger skewing like soldier type, I suppose. But then there's also, it's complemented by, these veterans or these folks that have been, a part of the war for a much longer amount of time. We need Respawn to work with the creators of Helldivers 2. Or they could both just keep making great games. I really need to get into Helldivers 2. After I finish New Frontiers and it's out and I take some time to relax, I want to look into that more. Play some, and then who knows, maybe make a little short about Helldivers. I think it would be a lot of fun based off of everything I've seen from it. It seems like a fun game. It seems right up my alley. I really like the concept of that, doing something with like the finals, Red Dead Redemption, all the good games, Murder Martyr. I don't think Apex is a good game. I have fun with it. I don't like it as much as Titanfall, but I have fun playing it. I play it with my brother a lot. He's been super into Apex recently. So, I don't know. It's fun to do together. I just can't wait till he sees my fan art of Chemo Alpha Titan. Just imagine a Titan with heavier armor than all the Titan in game with giant boxing gloves. That sounds like the Bison, who was originally supposed to be a part of Titanfall 1, I believe. I think in Titanfall 1, there was supposed to be a Titan called Bison who didn't, if I remember correctly, he didn't have a primary weapon, but like he was almost indestructible. Just beat things with his fist. Where do you get sources for accurate lore? So, IMC Spyglass is how he goes online. But he is him. Apologies, totally spaced out. But he's like huge into Titanfall lore, Apex lore, like all that jazz. He has a fan trailer, like a fan made live action trailer for a project he was working on, and which I think has like around 118,000 views, I think. So like if you're in chat, go look it up. Super dope trailer. Go give him some love, some support. IMC Spyglass. But he, yeah, so like huge Titanfall fan, right? And out of, as we were working on this, he was helping write it. And he legit has the encyclopedias for like all the games. So like everything was cross-referenced, and like looking at little things like what can we add in the background, and how can we make this even more ingratiated into the world. So like there's like a base that was like written in initially that was just like it's just an IMC base, like we'll just leave it at that. And he suggested like making that like a Silva Pharmaceuticals research facility, just to like kind of diversify it and tie it more into the Apex lore and stuff like that. So there was a lot of playing around with what that would look like. So he helped a lot in that respect. And then in that same vein, Nathan Snyder is also a huge Titanfall fan. And, he really came in with like the purpose of looking for inconsistencies in the script, whether it was something that conflicted the world, like looking at, a specific problem. So like, there's a conflict, like how do you approach that conflict, in Titanfall accurate lore, or how do you get around something? Again, like I don't want to get too much into like what I mean by that, because it would get into spoiler territory, but there were like things that we, objectively had to look at, like how do we rewrite this to where like it doesn't change the story, but it makes it accurate to what would happen in Titanfall, or like, is it something where, we're interfering with protocols of the Titans, where it's like they wouldn't behave that way in this scene, so how do we rewrite it to make it accurate to that? So both of them were a huge help in keeping it accurate to the lore, and then Luke Ryan helped make it a functioning story. Which Luke Ryan he's a combat veteran, now author, poet, creative. So he does a lot of writing, and then he also runs his own production company. So he got involved very early on, just on the prospect of, let's make a movie. Adepts, I know you're there. I saw you. I will hop back into looking at chat. Give me a second. Gotcha. Let's see. Do any of the Titans die? Well, that's just asking for spoilers, bruh. Not gonna... No comment. Like... I don't really know what you want me to say about that. You'll find out when the show comes out. It comes out in a little bit. You'll be able to see. Lots of grunt, not grunt Titans, but like, you know, those more like autopilot Titans. A lot of those die. Let's see here. How long do you plan on streaming debate? I don't know how much longer I can use this to procrastinate. I'll probably finish this game and then I got to get back to working on the show. But what the heck? I'm stuck. Goodness. Love the trailer. Wait, will there be an episode on March 20th? No. To go over the release schedule again, since there's a lot more people here. So the way that the show will come out will be on March 11th will be episode 1. So Monday, March 11th, it's the 10-year anniversary of Titanfall 1, as well as you know, when the show releases. So that'll be episode 1 on March 11th. There'll be an episode every single day of the week, Monday through Friday. And then on Friday will be episode 5. Saturday will be BTS Day. So Behind the Scenes comes out, giving, you know, an overview of like how he made this whole thing, which I'll talk about that a little bit again too, for anybody who might have missed it. Just to chat about like, you know, how it was done. But then after all that, on March 17th will be episode 6, and that's the finale episode. And then afterwards, we'll do a live stream with the cast and crew, talk about the show, kind of celebrate, you know, get everybody like answering questions like we are on this stream. And then once that comes to, like, gets to a good place, we'll stream for about, you know, 40 minutes, answering your questions, you know, celebrating all that. Then we'll hop on Northstar to play Titanfall 2 with you all, and we're working with the guys over at Northstar to get some custom servers running for that event. So you'll be able to hop on and play, and once again, I'm going to keep plugging for Trinity Dusk's New Frontiers mod, which I'm using right now to play as Celise. You know, go give it a download. It's free. Go to the Thunder store, pick it up, play some Titanfall 2. It's fun. Let's see. So many of you March babies. Who else here is pro IMC? I guess technically I am. I made a whole show about it. Dang it, I wanted spoilers. You can get spoilers after the whole show's out. Come out in a little bit, bro. You look stressed when you said that. Only a wee bit. Besides Briggs and Cooper, what other TF2 characters will be in the show? Oh, and yes, the 17th is St. Patrick's Day, but more importantly, it's Titanfall New Frontiers finale day. As far as other characters from Titanfall 2 that are in the show, there's references. Davis and Draws are in the show. Are voiced by Nathaniel Barton and Jacob Sturley. Great comedian friends of mine. And they killed it as the characters. So Davis and Draws, Jack Cooper, Sarah Briggs, and then most everybody else is a reference. Like, they're mentioned, but like not seen. I'm trying to remember if there's anybody else. I don't believe so. I think everybody else is an original character, using, different or modified skins from Titanfall 2. Oh, and BT. BT's in the show. You saw him in the trailer. Get to see the fold weapon scene again. Break some hearts. Which, by the way, making the fold weapon scene went through a lot to make it both accurate to, like, what happens in game, but also like adapt it for film. So messed around a lot with that, and it came out really good. I mean, I hope that came across in the trailer itself. Opinion on the L-Star? It's alright. I don't personally use it often, except for in Coliseum matches. I don't think it's bad, just not my style. I think it's mostly the lack of feedback it gives, so it's hard to gauge things, because like so much, is just based off of, what I can hear and see, and like the haptic feedback when you're on console. So that made a lot more of the other guns just a little bit more friendly for use. I don't know where that guy went. I might get one more game in. One more game for all the real ones on the stream. What are we up to? 145? That's crazy. You guys are crazy. Thank you, though. Super awesome. After the show's out, I can actually monetize my streams. Will there be anything after New Frontiers, like new episodes, or some small lore thingies? We'll keep this to stream. I'll tell you my plans. There'll be, a much larger video to come out to talk about it more. But post oh, that's an AI pilot. Possible to kill. Post New Frontiers, what are we gonna do? So working on this has been super cool. It's fantastic. Love the lore, love working on it, all that fun jazz. It's a huge project, and it's a huge ask for all those involved. That being said, no plans of doing something of this scale again. It's just too big, too much, and we want to be able to explore lots of different things. So what I'd like to be able to do. Whew, Adepts, you almost got me. What I'd like to be able to do is turn the Plot Coalition channel more into kind of like Love, Death, and Robots for YouTube, where it's these small, anthology style little vignettes, films, mostly set in video game worlds. So have, a lot of different ideas that I want to try. Stuff like in Red Dead Redemption, like I mentioned, the finals. Helldivers would be a fun one that's like popping off. And, potentially explore more in Titanfall and Apex. But post New Frontiers, I have ideas for what I would do for a sequel. Like, those ideas are impossible to avoid coming up with. But as far as like doing another huge show like this, there's no plans unless like, somebody like Respawn or EA wanted to fully fund it, or someone like Netflix wanted to buy the rights to a show like it and wanted me to come on. Like, otherwise, there's probably not going to be anything following up to this degree. If you give one of the main characters a Spitfire, I'm going to cry. No Spitfires. We'll do one more game. Be anything new? That's the one I just answered. Oh, perfect glitch. I wanted to play this one. Spoiler, don't break my heart again. Asking for my opinion on Spitfires. I think if you're new, I think if you're having fun, play the Spitfire. If it helps you stay alive for a couple of seconds, by all means, have fun. If you've been playing the game for a good bit and you're still using the Spitfire unironically, then like, what are you doing? Come on. If you're using Spitfire and AWOL, then go play Call of Duty. That sounds more the speed. I will say, I haven't played it on PC, but I do like playing AWOL with the double take, but like still, playing it like Titanfall as a movement shooter. And just being able to throw down for a split second, and if you can get off that one perfect shot, like, that's always satisfying. No AWOLs in the show, though, because I didn't start really playing with it until a lot of the servers came back. I was really committed to just playing like people we had written into the show. I do like Volt. Volt is a good SMG. I use the Volt a lot in Apex. That's one of my favorite guns in Apex Legends. Which you can play both. You can play and enjoy both, guys. It's possible. They're both good games. Titanfall's better, but they're both good games, and you can enjoy them both. I'm hearing a dog in the background, and can we see the little guy? Where is the dog? I can have him come up here. Sam. He's asleep right now. Here. We'll do this just for you guys on stream. There he is, taking a nap. He's a good boy. He just got his vaccines. So I think that's been making him sleepier at night. I mean, he tends to get sleepy at night because he's up with the children all day, but he's a good boy. W dog. He is a W dog. 10 out of 10. Well, the dog being the show. I wanted to put the dog in the show, but the opportunity didn't really come up. And, I thought about like trying to get him on a green screen, but it didn't really work out. But he is at the heart of the show because he spent so much time in here with me while I was animating. And, he was there for moral support. So he's a production pup. Yes, Sam. He's a good boy. Maybe we'll get him in the next project if he's if we do like something Red Dead Redemption related. Maybe we can have him make a cameo. He's got that, cowboy era dog thing about him. I'm gonna call on my Titan. Come here, Edith. Also, fun fact, so a lot of the actors we recorded over Discord. Super unique experience, except for Edith and Manfield. So the Sherry Lee and Evan Clinton, they play the two main Titan characters in the show. And take this guy down. But they recorded completely separate. So dang it. Should have seen that coming. But they recorded separately so that they were disconnected from everything else. So like all the actors, whenever there was a nice. Whenever there was a Titan like in the scene, I just read for them, and then I would add everybody's like voices, like combine it all together. And like that was another thing, is like sometimes actors just weren't scheduled at the same time, so like they're all kind of a little offset. It works 100% like in the show, but with it being offset like that, the two actors, Sherry Lee and Evan Clinton, who play the two main Titans, did all their lines separately, and they just kind of got to choose, at their leisure when they were able, hop into a little recording area, set up their phone, and record their lines. So that was another way that like this was just like super accessible to really anybody. Let's see here. What's the little guy's age, if you don't mind me asking? If you're asking about Sam, he is 3 years old. He turned 3 on Valentine's Day. That's when the doctors assume he was born. To ask, I saw a question, how much the show cost. This is going to be, and I actually have some of the investor cash on my desk here. There you go. It was a $0 production, so everybody who was in it was volunteer. We spent no money on the show. Everybody worked on it for free, and I did it all in my spare time. So yeah, $0 production. We wanted to try and make something that looked like it at least cost a few thousand. So that's a fun little factoid. when it says no monetary funds were allocated towards production. That 100%. We spent $0. We just spent a lot of time, and there are a lot of people volunteered their talents to be a part of it. So super duper dope. Budget was blood, sweat, and tears. The money spread. Yeah, all that money. I got dollars on dollars on dollars. Goodness. That didn't last long. Can you make it rain with all your billions of dollars? All my billions. It's funny that we did this, even though, it's not perfect. But, everything in Hollywood getting made right now has like a minimum of like a $200 million budget, with the exception of like stuff like Godzilla -1 and a couple of other choice projects. Gotta run. I guess I could have phased. I really got to remember that. That's my ability. Which, if you have downloaded the mod, Celeste replaces the female phase shift, and Gila replaces the female hollow pilot. And if you haven't downloaded the mod, what are you doing? Go download the mod. If you play on PC, you got Northstar, go download the mod, show some love to Trinity Dusk. They spent a lot of time, putting it together. And the Northstar team's working on some fun stuff for when the show actually releases. So, we can all play Titanfall 2 together. Ain't gonna lie, I bet the show's gonna be better than half of the Netflix shows. We'll see. The story's good. Friends, the budget was the friends we made along the way. There it is. And it's true. Literally. Made a lot of friends, met a lot of new people. Had a lot of old friends, come back to work on it. People that I never thought I'd be able to work with again. And, a lot more new ones. Saw the trailer last night. Some crazy shit. How'd you see it last night? Unless you saw the teaser trailer. Oh, that is still phase rewind. I know there's a version of the Northstar mod that launches you instead. Where'd that guy go? I thought he'd be coming for me. Bad boys, what you gonna do? Can't wait. Time zone. Can you buy respawn? Yeah, with my billions of dollars. I just showed you all the money I have. What was the other question? Time zones? I'm on Central, so that's when we'll be releasing everything. Is based on Central Time, which is like a good median for a lot of people, even though we kind of have fans all over the world. That's just what, we're basing things on. Good thing it is, it's YouTube, so you can hop on whenever you'd like, unless it's like live streaming. I have a buddy who's just, really great and figuring out stuff with the motion capture and Unreal Engine and all that jazz. He's phenomenal. And he's usually attending my streams and stuff, but in his part of the world, it's like probably like 4 o'clock in the morning. So he's not around right now. Netflix should buy your show with Respawn if they want to. I have zero expectations. You know, we'll see what happens with all of it. It'll be interesting to see. You know, obviously, we love the show. We are fans, but we'll see what happens. You know, we're just happy that it's getting out and that people are going to be able to watch it. So, you know, we're fully prepared. I've said since the beginning, because people have asked me that even like super early on. And oh no, don't interfere with them. No. GGGF. Can tell what buttons I was pressing. But yeah, like since the very beginning, I'm like, you know, if Netflix or Respawn or whatever like wanted to, technically I don't, like, because I don't own the IP, there's little of the show that I actually own. Like, you could argue that I own some of the original characters and like the story and stuff, but like, you know, who knows what'll happen with it. We're just excited to get it out for free on YouTube for everybody to watch and enjoy. And then once it's out on YouTube and, you know, we start making other projects, you know, we want to be able to monetize this and have it kind of be self-sustaining would be super cool. But it all starts with this New Frontiers project, which is a whole venture that, you know, I never could have anticipated a couple of years ago, but now it's, you know, part of my life. So that's pretty cool. My dad actually owns Respawn. Bruh. Where has he been this whole time? Vincent Pella. Let's go. Let's make a show together. As an aspiring VA, I'm interested in what your process is like selecting talent for the project. Thanks. This will be the last question I end on because I got to hop off and work on some of the show to get it wrapped up. But to answer that question, so a lot of the voice talent came from folks that I've just met over the years. You know, I know a lot of people in the production world, so I knew a lot of voice actors and had different connections, and those connections knew other people. So that filled out a good amount of cast, but there's also just people who reached out, you know, through Reddit or over Discord, you know, in the YouTube comments. Like, I tried to give as much chance to as many people as possible. So, you know, there's a lot of people who got involved that way. And, you know, we tried to get as many folks in it as we could. And, you know, we got a good amount. There's probably about 50-ish people. So everybody was able to get in. But, like, you know, put yourself out there. Definitely, you know, chase after it if it's something that you want to do. Like, you know, look for projects. Look for fan projects. You know, put together your own project. You know, all that kind of works towards the same thing. But, all right, I have to get back to making this show so it can be done in time for release. But I appreciate everybody who's hopped on the stream, hung out. Thank you for watching the trailer. Go ahead and share the trailer, please. You know, talk about it, make videos, discuss it online. Just push it out as much as we can to get more people aware of it. Talk about it in game. Yeah, all that would be super dope. And show comes out on March 11th. So super excited, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you guys soon. But with that, I'm going to call it. Thanks for watching.